because, well, they're just gorgeous.
Welcome to Bloomieland!
Created in chaos.
Fucking hell.
Chaos it has been.
So, you might have seen that we launched a podcast like 2 months ago.
Yeah, and we filmed it probably about 5 months ago.
Back in November,
Yes.
we decided that we wanted to start and give you the Bloomieland story. And that would like work its way into us starting our own podcast where we talked about everything from our likes, dislikes, our signature colours, our identity,
Starting
everything.
up the business, trials and tribulations. We had it all rolling, ready to go, and
Then my mum died. And so, I just couldn't just like post all that content.
of course
just
not.
like
It wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't. It wouldn't have felt right. It wasn't right, and you physically couldn't. You
No.
mentally couldn't. Emotionally, it wouldn't have been right. As I'm sure all of you understand, it just absolutely So it's been about 2 months. So
yes. Not only that, we just launched a podcast.
Yeah.
We just launched a pre-order for Nice's a couple of days before. We just launched our Instagram for
Yeah.
Bloomieland.
Yeah, at Bloomieland.
I just had to like drop it all. Elizabeth had to just take the reins
Of
and
course.
just
Nay.
go, nay!
I was like this. But then I also just got off the horse as well. I had my soonest opportunity. But we're both back on. I think we're on a slow a slow canter.
Yes, we're on a slow
We're
canter.
going uphill, unfortunately, it feels like. But we're ready. Yeah. This is where we're at. This is why we haven't been here.
And this is also why it's going to be like, why is Elizabeth here?
Yeah, why have I got a shaved head? Comes out, which you're obviously listening to right now. We'll be going backwards, posting those other episodes from back in November. It's insane just knowing that when we're like editing and stuff, listening to the timelines of those and the fact that it's a whole different year as well. Like it literally will make no sense.
Very on brand.
But it will be like fun to listen to, obviously. And then we'll actually be posting things a bit more real time. Fingers crossed.
But for now...
Previously on Bloomieland.
So today we're going to be going through our full Bloomieland timeline. This has actually unlocked so much stuff for us.
It has so many memories, so many things that we've learned, and just like funny tales that we're like hopefully relatable to some of you, but also some of them I'm like, I hope no one ever goes through this.
Never.
Yeah, it really tests you. But it's been really interesting to kind of like deep dive. We basically collected this timeline by going through photos and videos on our phone. We built this timeline of like the key points of what we've done in each month, because we keep saying it's been a year, but it actually, in April it will be 2 years since we had the very first Bloomie meeting.
Conversation about it, like Bloomie's blossom.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to give you a run through of our kind of timeline and highlight the key pieces with also what we learned as well, and hopefully it's kind of inspiring.
Bloomies of the day.
A casual headpiece.
I am wearing the naughty. These are our very first sample that we had made up in the chiffon fabric, so these are very dear to our heart.
Proper piece of Bloomie history.
Cute.
The nifties.
They've got pockets.
I love them so much.
It all started in the cafe.
We're back in the cafe.
Back in the cafe. This is the first Bloomie meeting, which was the 18th of April, which is so exciting. Actually, it was probably about 2 months after that you actually bought me the Bloomies in your archive, and then that's when we kind of started to actually analyse which ones did we like, which ones did we want to kind of replicate and recreate in our own way, and talked about the practicalities of that as well.
And I was rudely awakened.
And that's kind of what we did was we started with, you know, what kind of budgets are we working with, what kind of machinery have I got, what kind of access to making these do we have, and that's where we started being realistic, and that's actually where
The math meme was happening.
started with just the 2 designs, which was the nifty and the naughty. Those were the first 2 that we ran with, and we're going to go into the development of the different styles a bit later on, but that's where we actually started. Nice's were my favourite, and I loved the naughties, but I guess I knew immediately that price point was going to be quite high, so I thought those aren't actually maybe going to be the most sensible option to start with, even though it did end up being the one we started with. And then the nifty, I was like, no, tomboy. But obviously, as it has been proven, I love my nifties. They are really fucking excellent. They are nifty.
Yeah, they are nifty.
They are actually
nifty by name, nifty by nature.
Yeah, so that's, that was in July, so we actually started with the Bloomies that Sherry had. We actually then started, I tried them on, I was like thinking about how we're going to style these up, seeing how it's going to be realistic, and then we moved into the kind of production part.
And that is where, yes, Elizabeth started to educate me on what pattern making actually, how
what it
happened.
entails.
Did you know, like,
how long it takes?
how much it costs as well?
Yeah, the cost is something that a lot of people don't speak about.
No.
But that's something that, you know, obviously if you're...
And for each size?
And for each size, yes.
I didn't know that.
That's what we were working with. So, so with my brand previously, I've always come up with the design and the vision myself, but I had my seamstress working with me for many years, and I could draw something on like a post-it note and be like, this is what I want, and then she'd make the pattern piece for it. It's amazing. So for the first time we actually had physical garments to take in, and obviously those were only in very limited sizes from your personal collection, so that's kind of where it started. But we were like, we want it like this, but a bit higher rise or kind of wider in the leg and stuff like that. And then that's kind of how I introduced you. Okay, so this is the hourly rate that we pay for pattern grading. It was a higher hourly rate just because it's you know, very methodical.
It's
a lot of thought.
You're
Yeah,
paying
full
for
expertise. Just once you've made that pattern in the size small or your standard sample size, which is generally around a size 8, then it would be like an extra cost per size, so at least £20 on top of that. So we actually only started with 4 sizes because that was it was very hard to make that decision, basically because we were like, we want to include everyone, but we can't afford to have like 12 sizes. If you went up as like high street kind of standard, which was never how my brand worked anyway.
No.
So we basically started off the journey of Bloomies with the advantage of it being elasticated, which is actually makes it a lot easier to be like kind of in between sizes, and they're much more forgiving than something like tight and structured. So we started off with a size bracketed size guide, which we thought that makes sense, that's easy. But even when we would actually say it out loud, it got very confusing because we'd be like extra small to small, medium to large. Yeah, it was
so much
very
of a mouthful.
clunky. But that was actually, the reality was, because we wanted to run with immediately just 2 styles, so that's 2, and then they're in 4 styles, so you're paying for 4, you're paying for 8 pattern pieces basically,
exactly.
Which is, you know, a few £100 like as an upfront cost. So that is, you know, why
before you even get started.
Yeah, before you've even bought fabric or actually any of the production time has started. So we were like, this is what we can realistically start with. We knew it was going to work because actually that does encapsulate those different size guides based on your waist, and because it's elasticated, and you know, so that's something that we've gone on to change, and now we've got 6 sizes, which is great. So it's the bracketed sizing isn't something that we kind of kept for that long, but that was just the reality of starting.
Exactly.
People do, you see a lot of brands, and I'm looking at you, especially the big brands.
Exactly. If we can do it, you can too.
We're going to introduce plus sizing, like, you know, over a size 20 in 2024, and then you wait for 2024. Like, we know friends that are still waiting for big brands to bring out their plus size collections, and then they say we haven't got the budget, and it's like, I appreciate it costs so much more money, especially when you're producing hundreds of units in different styles, but it's like, we did it.
Oh, exactly.
We managed to do it. We learned a lot on the way, but we started. That was always something that was fundamental to Bloomies. It's like, it has to be size inclusive.
100%.
So that's why we did it. That's where we started. Yay!
Around about like August, September, we were getting our first fabrics, and we were choosing our fabrics. We kind of both unanimously decided that we wanted to start off with like a kind of ice creamy theme.
Yeah, something very edible and delicious and delectable. Being in Margate as well, there's a lot of ice cream and sorbet. We wanted it to be very like holiday, like scoopable and just
So we went with chiffons for the naughties and cottons for the nifties. And they, to be honest, we did such a good job.
We did. After Christmas of 2023, like, we just overcomplicate things so much, and I actually feel like looking forward to 2025.
Take inspo from our past selves.
We're going to actually, there's always things that you can streamline. You're adapting, like the amount of change and reflection that we've gone through in a year, I think is amazing. But like having your stock colours, like we released like 5 different colours of the cotton, and then like 5 of the chiffon as the first ones, and like that just did so. It was very clear. It's like, you can have pistachio in your chiffon, you can have pistachio in your cotton, you can have rose in both, you can have blackberry in both, like, and vanilla and like Siggy and whatever, all the silly names that we ended up doing. Like it really worked.
all the fruit and Siggy.
A delicious bowl of Siggy ice cream. It just, that really worked, and I think that's, we then got so, obviously we got so excited, and we love vintage fabrics, so obviously then it was like facing the challenges of, we found this bit of fabric that's this big and we want to make a pair of Bloomies in it. To not move away from that point just yet is, those were all new fabrics, so some of them were dead stock, but they were all like brand new. They weren't actually vintage, they were like unused fabrics, so that's why we were able to do it in that pre-order format. So we had our first pre-order went up in October, beginning of October, sold out in 24 hours, which was amazing.
Unreal.
We had 40 slots across both styles, basically, and it was nearly a 50-50 split, wasn't it? I actually think more people went for naughties, which was amazing. We were so happy with that. And so based off of that, we then bought the correct amount of fabric that we needed. Basically, we didn't have to put an upfront cost more than making this first pair that I'm wearing, because they were our little it's like, this is what they're going to look like. Use your imagination and work out what colour you want, and then, you know, that's how people pick. So they saw the product in the rows that I'm wearing now, and then we knew, okay, for the pre-order you can order it from these 5 fabrics. So we had all the money come in from the customers, and then they wait 3 to 4 weeks. So that's when we're ordering all of the fabric, that's when we're getting them all made up, and then they get posted out. So that's a really good way to start a business, basically without having to have a huge lump sum or taking those risks of buying fabric that you're not actually sure what people are going to buy.
Yeah.
Because our main lump sum at the beginning was the pattern production costs, basically. So that's where we spent like hundreds getting that organised. And then, yeah, we had an amazing, you know, first set of customers came in, that provided us the money to make them, and then, yeah, it was great. So on the 15th of August, I took Sherry to our haberdashery, our local fabric suppliers, for the very first time, which, you know, taking you to like actually go and pick out our fabrics and trims and stuff. That was like what Bloomies is about. It's us hand picking everything. So that, you know, was a really special day. And now we like look forward to going out and doing shopping. We would do it every week if we could, but we have to be a little bit controlled.
Takes us to September, and that's when we got our first samples back.
Yeah, these are all made in calico, which is just
which
like,
I didn't even know what it was.
That was part of the journey as well. It's like we're looking at a very uninviting fabric, and I'm like, we have to make them up in this fabric first.
And it was first as well, like Elizabeth was like, so we're making them up in calico, and I was like,
your toiling fabric, your kind of cheap, just cotton, it's like unbleached cotton basically, and that's what you make it up, because it's like, it's a pretty standard fabric, and it's just cheap and affordable, so everything is pretty much made up in that. Just as your first one, which is so funny because I have the nicest made in calico,
and that's what she wears.
That's the only pair, and I still wear them in calico. They've got literally like 3 different coloured threads on them for some reason as well, like they're literally such a like random,
bootleg
piece. But then I'm like, love them. They're the only pair that exists. But yeah, so we had our naughties and our nifties and our nices all made up in calico, and then that's when we started to tweak the design. So there was a few changes that we tweaked about the nifties.
Pockets, cutting them on the card, which I was really proud to have actually made that note as well, because I mean, I didn't actually see, this is the thing, I have the vision, just not the know-how, and that just goes to show that you don't actually need the know-how as long as someone else knows how.
That's what makes a brilliant team, is if you have like, you know, your skill overlooking skills, because then you make the perfect team. If you all know how to do exactly the same thing, when it comes to problem solving something that none of you know about, like, it's literally not going to work.
Exactly.
So at the very beginning, we did have a very good, solid team, but not for long!
Until she was stripped away from us.
Like, honestly, we're not even ready for that yet.
We're not even ready for that. Yeah, exactly.
At the moment, we were like, it's all going so well.
We were like
so excited,
frolicking through Bloomieland. Like, so we made the little tweaks, and then
had them back again. This was
they looked amazing.
We're actually both wearing the first pairs.
In
colour.
Exactly. So these were some of the first pairs. One of the first pairs of Nifty.
Yeah.
Because usually the Nifty has a matching frill
still be a
bottom.
pattern piece out of fabric.
But this just shows you how Nifties can just like,
how you can change them.
you can change them up so much. I love this pair so much. But yes, from that we got the final pieces back. We also found out how much we were going to be charged to make each piece, so then we could work out
how
the pricing, which was one of the toughest things I think that we've done, because we actually had original prices, and then we like kind of done a little focus group with our other business owning friends.
You make it sound so official. We were at a bar having shandy, and we were like, I reckon they should be this much. And we were like, oh no, I don't know, it feels really expensive. And then we were like trying to, you know, look at what's reasonable, and then we were just about, like, we were like going to the toilet or something, then we saw 2 of our friends downstairs who were also having a drink, and then we were like, how much did you pay? And they were like, you're both being so silly, you're never going to make any money, like, you're being daft.
And then they were literally like, so after the expense of fabric and seamstress, you both are going to be making less than £2.
No, literally, like, we were like, we need to readjust, and actually we needed like
a stern talking to, really.
It has to be financially sustainable as well as like environmentally sustainable.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, there's also, even when you take us out of the equation, there is things like, you know, a studio to pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
And like taxes. I'm so glad that I think the universe put them in that bar.
Yeah, so that
night.
So we didn't just be
Don't undervalue yourself.
Yes, exactly.
There's a difference between being greedy and being like actually sensible. And I come from a retail background, and when I was looking at the cost price when I was working in Vivienne Westwood, the minimum that they would mark up is 2.7. That is the lowest that they'll go on any sort of markup. So that's always like stuck in my head. So if it's like quite a lot more, less than 2.7, then it's not what, like,
it's not going to work.
It's just not.
I don't
work.
even think we did do 2.7 markup.
No, we didn't, but it's closer to that. So it's like, it needs to be around that mark for you to make any sort of a sustainable.
This is why it was so good doing a collab, because you do have someone else to like talk about profits and how much things cost. Usually I just be like, and I'll just add £10 for me. Bing. So with that being said, that's why we created this idea of the Bloomie receipt. We weren't the first one to do that. I've seen other brands make this kind of receipt format, but we were like, that's really important for us to showcase like transparency about why they cost this much, because it's done ethically, they're all made locally, this is how much the fabric is, this is how much we're making. We just really wanted that to be the introduction to Bloomies. If you saw it for the first time, obviously we were so brand new, it came out as soon as we launched them.
And I think it's just such a general good thing to showcase to
Yeah, it's
people.
good practice.
Especially like I remember when Fashion Revolution first came out, and then it was like asking the question like, who made your clothes?
Yeah.
But who actually did make my clothes?
Who is the
Who's the
person
physical
behind it?
person?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was just so nice to be able to be like, this is exactly who's making your clothes. This is how much they're being paid. This is how much we're being paid. This is how much we're paying for the fabric.
Yeah.
This is how much going to trimmings. This is how much postage and packaging. It's just like every single little detail.
It's accounted for. There's no nasties behind it. Do you know what I mean? That's what we want to do, is like build an ethical, trustworthy brand.
Exactly.
Yeah. So on the 6th of October, we had our very first launch, which was 40 slots, and we sold out in 24 hours, which, because we didn't really know what to expect.
Oh my, no, I genuinely couldn't believe it. But what was mostly heartbreaking is the fact that I didn't get to see most of them.
No, that's it. With the 3 to 4 week kind of like making turnover that we had, because
I
we
was off to Glasgow.
actually had like 40 orders like ready to make. So you only saw some of them come through, and then you went back to Glasgow. So I was kind of like packing and then handling the second drop that was also made with original seamstress. So we basically like, I saw and packed like near enough 80 pairs of Bloomies before Christmas, which was kind of like such a crazy introduction to actually the collab like really kicking off. So that really felt so rewarding and special. I was like, oh my god, we're doing it, like it's happening.
But also it meant that we could see what each size was going to physically look like, because we had the patterns from the first time.
We hadn't physically seen them all.
We hadn't physically seen them all.
And we got to have a kind of real first insight into what colours customers like. It was like, I will remember that feeling of like having that sell out, and then we did it again.
I know, honestly,
twice.
I can still hear the screams. Sometimes when I lie awake and I still hear the screaming.
We every single time we get an order. Every time Shopify's like, bing, we're like, and we always text each other when we
I know.
We literally, it's like a race. I can see you're typing and I'm typing. It's like, we just sold. We send a screenshot of what sold, and we like, literally, it's like constant commentary. So we did the second launch on the 20th of November, and then merely 4 days later, on the 24th of December, I was dumped. No one dumps me.
No one dumps me.
No one dumps me. I've never been dumped, but I was dumped by my seamstress. And like, my heartbeat just got quicker.
Not literally.
The trauma. It was too much. So I was...
It still breaks our heart to this day, to be honest.
I clenched fist. No, it's actually just devastating. My flat is next to our old seamstress's studio. So I was in my slippers, literally barely 8 a.m.
In the streets!
In the streets! I literally thought I was just popping next door, drop off the fabric.
And all this fabric in her hand.
Literally like... And then, she basically said like, I'm not going to be working with you anymore. And I was just like...
And she was already forewarned that there might be some changes.
I knew that there was...
Not to worry.
The key words were, it's not going to affect you, don't worry. I knew that changes were coming, and you always, in any career, in any workplace, things always change, and I know that. Like, if this change isn't going to affect me, I've been reassured, this is great, because Bloomies is going amazingly, this is exactly where we wanted to be. And with me 2 days a week, that's what we'd kind of agreed, and that was an ongoing kind of verbal contract of, well, forever.
Yeah.
That's what we thought.
We just sold
80
pairs of Bloomies.
Literally, so that
and these still weren't in production.
No, the fabric was in my hands. So we were kind of left like, after Christmas is going to be a big pickle. So she did say she was going to make the orders that obviously we had, because we'd already had customers paid, because it was the pre-order system.
Yes.
So she did make all of those, but it obviously then, the relationship kind of broke down, because I was just like devastated.
Absolutely devastated. And then we're like, what do we do?
Because Bloomies was on such a high, like how do you beat doing 40?
And we're on a roll.
Yeah, we had such a good... response and good audience, and it was just coming into the new year, and we were like, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. So we had to act fast. I have a freelancers in Margate chat that I made a few years ago, so I literally put in that like, help. It's like, I need anybody know a seamstress. I always do this, but I'm typing on my phone, I'm doing speedy thumbs. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm looking for a seamstress, anybody, like word of mouth, asking everybody I knew. There's so many creative people in Margate, and I know a lot of people sew, but I was like, sewing isn't just enough. You have to be a seamstress and pattern maker. You need to have your shit. You need to have your own sewing machine. You need to have your own space to cut out. Like, it's more than just can sew.
Yes.
So that was really what I was looking for. So put in that, had a response, chatted to a few people in person, and then that's when we started navigating who's going to make the Bloomies. So at the start of December, I had a response in the freelancers chat from just a gorgeous person all round called Meg, who does work with us now. We love you.
We love you, Meg.
A few days with her in the studio, got to know each other really well. That was before Christmas, and then kind of like plans to start working in, you know, on a bigger scale after Christmas. And that's how we moved on to our seamstress, which I have so many emotions about it, because I remember being so excited when I got the confirmation from her that she wanted to take it on, and it honestly seemed too good to be true, which obviously it was. It was like she was looking for this many hours of work a week, and this is what she had. She had her own studio. She had all the equipment we needed. It seemed like she had the experience and portfolio in order to back it up, but unfortunately, it wasn't. Womp womp.
Like, after the absence of, I really felt like we needed someone who, as Elizabeth said, like could do it all, and really was like a seasoned person.
I needed a professional.
But then things quite quickly started to go south. Right, so we made a few mistakes.
Yes, there was one very big mistake.
The first mistake was the fact that we paid a lump sum to try out the patterns.
Yeah, the reason we did that, I think, this was before I kind of had to negotiate with Sherry was...
I was in Glasgow still.
But obviously we were over the phone.
This was over Christmas!
It was all over Christmas. It was a lot, honestly. It was very stressful. I remember sitting at the dinner table and my aunties being like, Bloomies is just really stressful.
Yeah.
But I was so confident with what I had been told that it was going to work out. So, and you know, with the skill set that I expected and was told that she had and everything. So I said, okay, well, this is how much from my old seamstress, how much she's being paid an hour. I'm going to match that wage. But this is how long a nifty should take. I said, while you get used to making the pattern, I'll just pay you on an hourly rate. And it was a really, really good, way above living wage hourly rate. Just go for it. And I want you to make 2 pairs max, then you should have it. So we started off with making naughties and nifties, but she just couldn't grasp how to make the nifties at all. We probably, at least 4 or 5 pairs in, they still weren't right. And I will reassure you now, no pairs went out that weren't perfect.
No pairs went out.
You know, they were being absolutely beautiful. But when it came to the crunch time and we were like, okay, so we agreed on 40 units a month as the general estimate of how many pairs we were wanting to be made per month. That was agreed between us two, and it was like a struggle to get 8 per month.
It was a struggle to get a pair a week at one rate, like literally. And by this point, the backlog, because we were only promoting naughties, the backlog was building. We had all these
promoting
customs
as much as we wanted to. It just like that rise of like what we started on, it should have only been going up from there.
And it felt like there was an issue with everything. And I think that it was like whether or not some fabrics our machine wouldn't accept. So literally Elizabeth had to take her sewing machine down to her studio multiple times just so she could actually sew the
which then meant that we could use the sewing machine in my studio. And it was just like pure friction, and like all of us putting on a brave face wanting it to work. We never want to upset anyone, we don't want to make anyone feel shit, but we had a standard that we'd set and we had this agreed and it just wasn't being met. And it's so hard for us to kind of cut ties, especially when you're in a small town, everyone knows each other and you basically want your production to be market. It's not like we could just choose another factory in China. But then I was like, I've just promised you, if you work with me and we do Bloomies together, I've got production, I've got knowledge, I've got all this. I like gave Sherry a package of being like, I've got it sorted, I'm great to work with. And it's like, well, that's just fucked. And now I've said we've got someone else, I think they're going to be amazing. They're not, like, it's not working. So I'm like losing faith and thinking like, actually is this, like, I really started to question like, okay, how are we actually gonna make this work? Because it started to lose the joy.
And also
and it's about joy.
That is,
the brand is built on joy. It's not built on money. Joy. It's built on joy. Like, this fulfills us creatively so much. And like, I like, we'd feel really anxious. We'd feel really stressed.
Every text that we got through when I saw in my phone.
No, we were like, it's going to be another thing. Something else is going to be wrong. Something else hard. Like, even if we were having an amazing day, like in the studio, planning other stuff, doing shoots, filming content, whatever, like, we were having a great day. Something about production, like a question or a hold up or a disappointment or just being let down, like, just affected us so massively. It's like, actually, Bloomies is not financially joyful and it's not emotionally joyful anymore. So it's like, we felt like, we were like, is this the end of Bloomies? I remember one day you were like, it's just like pushing a rock up a hill.
Literally.
Like, one day, like, we're so close to it, it's all just going to fall down on us. Like,
I could see it happening. And you know what? It kind of did, because it all led us. It says pop-up shop, and that's where the true demise
that was
really came.
If you couldn't tell already, this was very chaotic for us. So we ended up with like little piles of Bloomies here, little piles of like, none of it was really working. We were sampling loads of different fabrics.
It was like we were trying to rescue pieces.
Yeah, we had Meg, who I just previously mentioned, like she had just started working for us and sewing. That was just on the Nifty, so everything was just like actual pure fucking chaos.
It felt like everything was written in the back of a fag packet. It was literally just like right.
There was no logic, rhyme or reason, and but we still were like eye-wateringly like, it's working. We're making the Bloomie dreams come true.
I think that the Chaos collection was actually the start of us getting our shit together.
Well, yeah, and this is actually now the name of the podcast.
I know.
So,
because it's about leaning into the chaos. I think if you are a chaotic person and you're a bit all over the place as a person, don't then try and be
don't try and do it by the book. Like literally lean into it. We were like, I remember us like laying out every single pair of bloomies that we had, which was some boxes and some balloonies that Megan
Nothing
made.
went. There was no story.
Just
Get them all gone.
Just chaos collection. Just own it. We're just going to lean into it. And we were like, makes so much sense. I mean, that's what we did. We uploaded a whole bunch. The pricing wasn't consistent because we had some samples in there. So obviously they were cheaper. We had some premium ones that were made out of like French vintage
silk
that would.
I'm like thinking back. I'm like,
it worked.
It worked so well.
Meg had kind of like dropped these little bits of information that her mum was like an incredible sewer, and she kind
and
of
this was as we were like in
yeah, literally like really struggling with production, not where we wanted to be at all. A few jokes like, oh, I'll just get my mum to help me, maybe she can get on board, and we were like, yeah,
like when
this isn't a joke, we would love for your mum to work with us.
Absolutely.
I bought her a congrats on your new job card, and we were just their mum,
so bloomies.
The mum and daughter duo, like their dynamic is just incredible, like nothing I've ever seen. They're just so good for each other, and they're just so perfect for bloomies. Like,
not literally,
it's all built in joy, and it's just so magical. So actually then Catherine fully came on board and started helping with the cutting and sewing. She's an incredible sewer. She's got so much experience, so humble. All the pattern matching comes down to Catherine, like the sewing, and they've just got this little mini production line at the end of their garden, just got a beautiful
it's
summer
gorgeous
house. Like that's what your bloomies are made.
Yeah, I feel like when Catherine came on, it felt like the Bloomie magic had been popped back in, because we could like rest our weary hearts.
I always say she's our Bloomie godmother.
Absolutely.
She's our Bloomie godmother.
Because she looks after us, the way that she's like so
you've got mortgage
supportive.
advice from her.
She also put in systems in place, like behind the scenes, like when we give over fabric, there's like a database to say how much of the fabric we've got left, and
like the admin bits, and then Meg colour codes it all, so our like spreadsheet is all pink and orange.
All pink.
Yeah, it's perfect. So that was a real like shining beacon, being like things are going to be okay.
And at the end of May, we had our friend Sarah come in.
Yes, who recently modelled for us on this very bed.
She is a fit model and basically...
And a size consultant as well. She's done size consultancy, so she really is an amazing person to speak to.
Absolutely. But basically we wanted to make sure that, again, that every single size looks the way that we want it to look. It doesn't, like, it's not just even about how it fits, it's how it looks.
Yeah, and how it makes you feel as well.
Exactly.
So we had Sarah come in and try on the 2XLs. We still had the bracketed sizing. So like an extra small to small up to 3XL to 4XL, and we were ready to kind of like change that and adapt that. So while we were doing that, we wanted to make sure that we actually had a plus size model come in and try them on and get her feedback. So we talked about changing the rise, which is basically like how high up they come on you. That was kind of a real timestamp, was just tidying up those patterns, getting that feedback, and then I went and spent weeks, it felt like, working on all of these patterns, because that's when we had to do the boxer, the Nifty, like every single pattern.
Because it was across the board, so so we were changing the fit of one, because like it was getting so confusing, because originally we were like, okay, we'll just put like a small waist on a medium, and then literally just try and do this like domino effect on all of the sizes, and it was just so confusing for everyone. So then that's why Elizabeth was just like, right, okay, I'm just gonna redo them all.
Every single one was redone.
Fix them all.
They were all in line. I was lining them all up, being like, how do they all fit? Like, work?
But now we're really happy, and especially after like our plus size shoot as well. Like, it's just like
exactly.
they fit so
we're so much happier. You can tell the confidence came back because we actually started getting the ball rolling. Like a lot of things were happening, whereas March and April were just such a struggle. There's not really many notable things.
No.
But like from May,
the sadness creeps through.
Jerry's birthday, we did Betty's Bloomie's birthday collection. So that was from the beginning of June. So we were really in our like summer deck chair, like clowny. When these ones came in. Those were your actual favourite. If Betty was a box.
If Betty was a bloomer.
Yeah. Pop culture is something that's really important for us. So
huge in our lives.
Including that, I mean, no one could ignore Brat Summer. Like, so obviously we had the Brat Bloomies come out. That was an amazing little slice of the internet. Just like we were like, we have to get involved in Brat Bloomies. Like, always loved making memes. That was one of our like most saved posters, making the Bloomies meme. I'm like, why have we only done that once? We need to make some more Bloomies memes.
I know.
But we have a constant mood board.
Yes. We'll see something and we're like, that's so Bloomies. And it'll literally be like it was a sandwich with some lipstick on it. And
Yeah,
we're
well, that's so
bloomies.
Or the duck that's in like a pink frilly harness.
Yeah,
It's like
so bloomies.
like you either get it or you don't.
No.
Like, and we're so at peace with the people that like don't get it. We're like, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't care.
We don't.
One of my favourite things to do, apart from mood boarding and memes, is also trying to work out the names.
Yes, that's something that we really, really enjoy, and I think that's like an expertise where I'm just like, you just do the names. Like it has to be like the most silliest name.
I know.
That
I
we
know.
really probably actually factually spend too much time brainstorming.
Yeah.
But I actually think that really like helps.
Oh, it
sell
brings
product.
the joy.
It brings the joy. Like we'll just be like, you'll just say a name and we both just like fall
Yes.
back laughing. We just absolutely love it.
Exactly.
Like where we just like constantly inject a sense of playfulness and just like being foolish. Basically,
Yeah.
we literally put up a poll that was like, would you call it Siggy or nicotine? It's so gross, but it's so slay. It's so slay. Like that's the only way we can like describe it.
So let's talk about the pop-up shop. This is where came to our final demise with us. We had Meg, we had Catherine. The production was going really well there.
The relationship was growing. Like we really had that connection with them, and also trust was one of the most important things.
Yes.
The trust was there, and yeah, we felt safe.
Exactly.
But alarm bells were still going off.
Alarm bells were still going off. And literally 2 days before the pop-up, after 2 weeks notice, we found out that none of the production that we had requested of the naughties were going to be ready for the pop-up.
So we had planned to have a naughty in every single size, which
so people could try on.
At this point was 6 sizes, so people could try them on, get a feel for them, and then obviously if they liked them and it wasn't in the colour they liked, they could just pick from our Happy Dabby of fabrics that we brought with us, or anything else they liked, and then have their own dream custom bloomies. But with something like that, you'd love to try it on, and we wanted to kind of give people that opportunity. That's what we'd also advertised that was going to be able to happen.
Exactly.
And yeah, we found out 2 days before, which obviously wasn't even enough time for me to make them even if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So that fucked us over.
Completely.
Big time.
And there were so many people in there as well who were coming in on the day who were literally wanting to come in and try naughties, and it just literally put such a spanner in our works. And bless Meg and Catherine, because they were like, we'll try and just like finish the production of what we're doing and do these, and we're like, no, we're just gonna take the L, it's fine.
Yeah, we ran with, luckily we had the Balloonie, which was like really doing well for us. That was like the summer staple, do you know what I mean? That was really, really, really working. And we had those in every size, and we had still some of the Chaos collection left over, but we really didn't have as much stock as what we would have wanted for our very first pop-up, which we did in House de Vils, which is our friend's vintage shop. But luckily, I think for that one, because it was a pop-up with 5 brands, other small businesses, it was all in a shared space. It didn't look like you were walking into a room
sparse.
That was like, with like 3 bloomies hanging up on like squeaky hangers and like a bit of tumbleweed. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was a good vibe throughout the day. This all just like shows how like resilient we are, because we were just like, hello,
The show must go on.
like no one would have known that we were like going through like just so much in the background. Like
what I loved most about the pop-up was actually seeing the Bloomie babes in real life for the first time, because obviously it'd just been online.
Yeah,
completely.
we hadn't actually seen many people in Bloomies at all.
Exactly, apart from each other and some friends, like
and
that
some
was
pictures
literally
online. But yeah, we hadn't to see that physical experience, and also see people's joy when they walked up the stairs of the shop and then they saw the rail. Like people just really lit up, and they like, this is what they understood immediately what it was about, and that was really rewarding. It was amazing with the pop-up. That was just like really special. It's a lot of hard work. We didn't make a ton of money, but that's not what it was about. It was just about having that real life connection.
That's just not what Bloomies is about.
It's just in general. This is not a business advice podcast.
July was actually a really busy time for us.
Yay.
Because not only did we have our pop-up, we had our first paid ad together.
That was so, I was like, we're being recognised as an actual brand, and it was being done for National Best Friend Day or something, like, and about how there was an article written about how a friendshippreneurship, can't believe I said that right first
I know,
time.
literally, famous.
Thank you. It's like, this is the new trend, is like a business trend of starting a brand with your friend, and we were like, we've done that.
Exactly. And then we got tattoos.
Yeah, it's official. I'm like,
Bloomies!
and I sleeve up, but I got the Bloomies butterfly as well. So that, yeah, we made it extra official by getting tattooed, and it won't be the first.
No,
it won't be the last.
It won't be the last. Like literally, like already got like Bloomie sleeve pretty much.
Yeah. August is like kind of like, I'm still in summer holiday mode. Like I'm in my inner child of being like, we're off school. This is fun. Like fun time only.
All I remember is August is I spent a stupid amount of money and was like skint with the rest of just
made no money, spent loads of money, but that was like our real fun month, which we absolutely deserved.
And then there was Gloomies.
It was Gloomies. That's when we feed the goth girls. Like we did obviously release black pairs of like nifties and naughties, but like we really leaned into this Halloween vibe, and that, you know, we did that even though we weren't obsessed with every single fabric from we're going to wear it. We knew that if adding that extra element of like play and matching it to different characters and iconic scenes and pop culture from like horror films and scary films, and basically like giving each fabric its personality.
Exactly.
That was like one
that's
of the
how
things.
we work.
And that's how, you know, ultimately it was like a really successful collection, I think.
I think as well, it's really fun sometimes to go out your comfort zone.
I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't doing it with you, and if we didn't have that like character reference to build around. Like that's something I would not have really been able to do at all. I would have really struggled to actually sell it and be happy with promoting it. Like it would have felt false, but this didn't feel false at all because we like had a really strong, and also it wasn't technically Bloomies, it was Gloomies.
It was Gloomies!
It's its own subcategory, and that's why it really works. And again, it's just a lesson of like leaning into it, and we knew that people really, really wanted to see that. Like Halloween was such a good kind of like time for Bloomies. Like it was amazing, and I actually can't wait to do it next year. And it was also such a like important time because it was the birth of the weenies.
Exactly, the weenies! They're teeny weeny!
Came from a fabric that I had sourced way before Halloween. I got this like.
But it was waiting for Halloween.
Yeah, we were like, we cannot put this out now. Like, it's the fabric of the hat.
It is,
and you will have seen the weenies. It's literally a teeny weeny bit of fabric left, and then that bit of fabric went down to an even teeny weeny bit of fabric, which is how the hat was made.
Not 1 ounce of fabric.
No, like nothing is wasted. We appreciate fabric so much,
especially our vintage fabrics.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
My God, like we will use every single last scrap.
And that's a good thing about Meg and Catherine. They're so savvy with like the placement of fabric as well to make sure that we can get as many pairs out of it as possible. And that's something that I would recommend if you're working with someone that's going to make stuff for you, is like make sure they understand that like fabric is so important, it's sacred, we should be not wasting it. Like fast fashion companies waste so much fabric because it's just cut in a bad way, but we literally like make sure everything's placed.
It's like, these are going to be a bitty teeny weeny, and we're like, don't care,
we're gonna try. I think they could still be shorter, honestly. I'm like, they could still be shorter. The weenies could be weenier.
The horse could be whoring.
Literally. It's like, yeah, Catherine was like, are you sure there's only this much fabric? And we were like, yeah, we love it. So there was a Friday the 13th in September. So we made that, obviously it's a spooky date. So we really leaned into that for our kind of marketing and made that the start of our Gloomies pre-order.
And it was such a successful day. Like, the goth girlies were eating!
And we did that where we had vintage fabrics, and we had some new fabric as well. So that was a really nice mix of like one-off pieces and, you know, the like the shiny black hat fabric people could order however many like they wanted. There was no limit on that, so that worked really well, having that kind of balance. And we also in September started getting Meg trained up to make the naughties. That was also, you know, really lovely, but then that does, obviously when someone's training on something new, that does slow production a little bit, so that's why we had to allow for that in September and October,
which really did put the pressure on Catherine as well, because we had so much of the making going on for the Gloomies, and then Meg trying to perfect the naughties. Exactly. It was like an actual little.
That's why it's such a blessing that they work together and they're like under the same roof. Do you know what I mean? Like they are literally got their little factory in their house, and that's just so special. So we're so grateful for that, and that's something that's so unique to the Bloomie journey and like part of the Bloomie brand.
There's even been chat about getting Granny involved.
Exactly. I know. I'm sure like more than one of them in that family like can sew incredibly well. It's just amazing.
So lucky to have them.
What have we done? Another lesson has been learned. I was about to say before your very eyes, but the whole point is that it wasn't before us. Before your eyes.
What? I've said lessons learned, and this is all about chaos. And so that's what we like to bring to the table.
We're adapting. We made memes while the phone was charging. We're adaptable. Getting towards the end of
We are getting towards the end now. If I could give one piece of advice to any small brand out there, it is do the pop-up.
Yeah, go for it.
They are so worth it. It's not all about sales. Like, I mean, obviously, like, you go there and you have, like, you know, an intention,
you have an idea of how much you'd like to make,
but don't make it all about that.
Yes,
and so just because you haven't got the sale then doesn't mean you're not going to get it.
Just also worth noting that the pop-up that we did do, we didn't take large financial risks for it. Like, it was a pop-up at our friend's shop. It was just down the road from the studio. You know, we weren't putting hundreds of money into overproducing stock. We kind of had an idea of what we wanted to sell, what we wanted to promote. We had some sample sale stock as well. Obviously we had a lot of manufacturing issues running up to that, but was relatively low risk. But it was worth us taking that risk.
Like salad days or something like that. A really well known. It's always heaving, the footfall's high, it's always going to be great. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're going to make sales on the day. And so I think it's as well like rolling with the punches. What can you do? Can you go onto stories?
Exactly.
Can you connect with some of the other designers that are there and maybe do a collab?
Yeah.
Maybe like
make some content. That's if it's ever like a dry day, just make some content.
Exactly. There will never be no mistakes, just lessons learned.
Absolutely.
And speaking of lessons, let's talk matey caps.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
The matey cap came with the best intentions.
Matey caps turned out to be like the totally not easy whatsoever.
No.
Like we had so many problems with sourcing them. And then like so many, we bought some and then they weren't right, they weren't as they described, so we found another seller, we bought those, and then he was like, they're 100% cotton, and I was like, they're 100% polyester. Like they were totally not right, so then those ones went back.
Both of us were starting to lose our passion at this point, but I also think that in our personalities, we are very tenacious at our core.
Absolutely.
And we're literally like, no, we shan't be beaten.
We will do it.
We will do it.
Even though they're not quick and convenient, they're not a money maker. So we didn't spend a lot of money on them.
No.
You know, if we sell a few more,
it
we'll
was
make
low
it back.
risk.
It was still low risk, but that was probably the riskiest thing we've done.
That has been the riskiest, because we don't, like, we are very thrifty.
Yes.
And we also
don't like
hate
massive
waste.
upfront costs. I think we didn't push the promotion as much as we should have, but knowing that, you know, people can wear them in December, May, June, July, just whenever. So
exactly.
It's down to us as well.
We don't see bloomies as a trend. They're not trendly.
Oh no.
Although that they were like, you know, across magazines and everything, and like the big season's new trend. It's not a trend. Never has been a trend. Exactly. Fashion has always been circular. It always comes round and round about. But then there's some people that, like, you know, that is just their thing.
Yeah. So that's what it was for me. I didn't feel like anything was missing in my wardrobe, but it's just I've made room for more.
Exactly.
Like there was no newness that I thought I knew all my shapes and cuts and stuff that I liked, and I was like, actually no, Bloomies, that was such a gap that I didn't even know was missing.
I'm not a skirts person. Like I love the look of short skirts, but ever since I was little, I used to have a really awful, terrible complex about my legs and my thighs. But also it is because of, like, even though I'm like straight, you know, size 8, like a size 8 person, my thighs rub together and I get really bad like chafing on my thighs on hot days if I'm wearing short skirts or anything like that. It's not a fun time. So Bloomies really helped.
So practical.
Exactly. And so it gave like the sexiness and the cuteness that I wanted from a mini skirt, but then I felt like more safe and secure because I was never going to flash my pants.
Yeah.
My thighs were protected.
Yes, exactly. And you look cute because it's
and you
pretty.
look super cute.
Yeah, and it's still that kind of like vintage retro nod.
Exactly.
And they're just silly. They're fundamentally
They're
just
so silly. Especially like we had a customer literally make their second order with us today, and they put in the comments like just thanking us because they never thought that they would be wearing shorts and feeling good, and that just makes our hearts sing.
Like one of the main reasons why we love to do it. Like having the feedback is just so important. It just makes us so happy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Another unconventional thing that we did is we did our, I suppose you would call them press shots, headshots of us over a year late with a really lovely guy called Jamie in CT9 Studios, who shot us just encapsulating Bloomies. It wasn't about selling the product or each style as it can be with product shots that we've done. It was just fancy dress. It was just playing dress up, encapsulating the vibe, that whole like and like can kicking, sailor hats, really camp, really fun.
And our signature colours, obviously.
Yeah, and like corsets, like we had to just wear our corsets because like just corsets and Bloomies are just perfect together. So yeah, that was a really lovely like pinpoint in like a highlight of mine from the Bloomies journey.
Absolutely.
And also we did our other first shoot with models, again like a proper full-on setup that we absolutely loved in this very space in the Market Suites. Which I'm sure you've all seen. We absolutely love those pictures so much. Like I think it's gonna be so hard to top that photo shoot. We will try.
Absolutely.
But
the dream is
so
to do a
happy
photo shoot with all of our size range.
Yes.
But it was so important for us to start with one with our Bloomie muses.
Yes, absolutely.
Sarah and Rachel.
They've been such a big part. Like they were both our fit models across the journey, and it was just so important to have them. They just encapsulated the vibes perfectly. Everybody on set was amazing. Our band sourced some gorgeous vintage pieces. Lindsay was she understood the aesthetic exactly of what we wanted with this whole like glossy romantic
a dreamy photography style.
So yeah, it truly was like our dream come true, and actually just like really felt like that solidified us as like a real brand. That made me feel like we've like got a proper brand, and it's not just us being silly on our phones.
Literally.
It was kind of not by choice that we didn't do a big shoot. Like we would have loved to have come in all guns blazing and done a massive big production with like a dream team right at the beginning, but we just weren't in that financial situation to do that. That's honestly why it's taken us so long to get to like, and why we've done what we've done in the steps that we have, because we are such a small scale business. And I think that maybe is something that people still don't understand how teeny weeny it is.
Literally.
Like,
you're thinking going all the way back to the Cathy, me thinking in April that we could launch in June.
Yeah, and knowing what we all know
and
now.
And then it's just like, from that to now just be the fact that we are launching Christmas on time. We launched Halloween on time.
Halloween, so I feel like we've really come into our own now.
So for the festive collection, we literally amped up our game again, because we took the weenies and we perfected them even more
yes.
so. Every single time there's like a new production line, it's just like we're up in the game and
Yeah.
up in the game.
That's it. Like, we want everything to just get better and better and better. And we're so grateful that everyone was there at the start. But we're like, we're just so happy with them now. We thought we were happy with them last year, but I'm so much happier
Oh my
with
God,
them now.
yeah.
Like, we have learned so much, and I think
The evolution of Bloomies.
that's a
has
takeaway
been
that everyone that like has a small
incredible.
business or wants to have a small business can take away is like, it is going to change and it is going to get better. So that's that whole thing of like a real like thing that we talk about is like, just do it, just get it done, post it, you silly bitch.
Post it, you silly
just
bitch.
Go for it. Like, if you're not ready, just go for it, and you'll learn along the way. If you're going to hold yourself back if you never even tried. I mean, that's
Literally.
what we've done is we just were like, let's just go for it. Our little
Chaos question!
Which is obviously then we're nearing the end of the podcast. I mean, we can all breathe now.
We've made it. The phone is still on.
It's a long question.
Okay.
You can give a short answer. So we were very spoiled with how was like her expertise and how like, just remember how like efficient she was. Like, the consistency, every single pair was exactly
the same.
It was like a full factory line. Like, her standard of sewing was absolutely incredible, and that set the bar so high. So, but then knowing how much shit that caused us and how much like turbulence it created, knowing what you know now, would you still have done that to end up where we are today, or would you rather we just from the beginning of Bloomies just put a call out for a brand new seamstress, and then it was Megan Catherine?
I mean, technically I would change it, because I think that like it's also really important that like we came through so many like hardships at the very start of our journey, and I think that only kind of brought us closer as well in terms. It made us stronger and like showed how good a team that we are.
That's so
and how
true.
we could react. And it's like if one person was like pissed off, it's like you could have a rant, but then we would end up laughing by the end of it, because we'd be like kind of just we would just end up making it funny. And it's just like, I think that's, if you can't laugh at the trauma, what can you do?
In all the days that we've done Bloomies together over the last like year and a half, we've had one bad day where I think we were both just finding it really hard. And then when we said goodbye to go home, we were like, it's not been the best day, but I still love you. And like, we hadn't even had an argument. It was just a tough fucking day.
It's a hard
we would have just been like,
Bloomies.
do you know, like, that was like, but every other day, even though we've been going through shit, it's still been joyful.
There's
There
still
was
be
just
joy.
one notable day that was hard.
That was a hard day.
But I feel like I wouldn't change it either, despite the dumping. Just because, like you said, it just shows that kind of resilience and actually like solidifies our team. Like, we progress so much. Because we've been friends for so many years, but we hadn't worked together. So yeah.
Had businesses and business partners before and everything, and it's just like, but I think that like, we're literally like so in sync and finish each other's sentences quite a lot.
We know
that
exactly what we're going to say next. We know each
Exactly.
other very well.
So it feels just like that it comes from a place of calm. There's no fear.
Yeah, there's no fear. Nothing I say I think you're going to judge me for. Like,
No.
even if I'm just saying the most random thing, or like doesn't make sense, or it's a stupid idea, or something that I'm scared of approaching, like I know that we're going to be able to face anything basically. Which is just so lovely. Yay!
One of the best things about Bloomies, and I've said this before, is honestly the structure it's given me.
Yeah,
I
same.
love that, like, I've loved putting so much time in, because the amount of joy that I get out of Bloomies is literally just like, it fills my cup so much. So
Yay, that's what we want. I'm so happy, because that's like, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
We'd be stupid to be doing it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think 2025 is not just Bloomie Wednesday, it's more.
Bloomie every day.
Bloomies! Oh, I think that's the perfect place to end this episode.
I hope you've enjoyed our long catch up.
Very long.
And maybe learned a few lessons.
Yes, we hope so. Don't forget to listen to the other episodes, like and subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Elizabeth Whibley.
And forever yours, Betty.
Yay!
Bloomies!
Love you, bye!
Yay!